Hello, artists. Happy week 8. I just want to walk through everything with you and explain this week's folder. So this week is October 26th through 30th. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this. There are 3 things in the folder this week. There's a video and explanation. You're going to want to start there. It also prompts you to review some things before you begin your final project. So last week you submitted a sketch. You should be having some feedback on there. In order to view that, if you either click on your grade book or if you click on the submission and go back to last week's folder, there should be a comment letting you know what you can do to improve your final, or maybe just a comment about what you did if you don't have much room for improvement. So make sure you look at those. We saw a lot of common kind of errors, which were things not lining up to the vanishing points, or like objects or buildings that weren't really grounded and didn't have a horizon line. So keep in mind, if you got feedback that to review some slides from last week, make sure you go back and do that before you start your final. There's the explanation video, and then there's 2 tutorial videos in here. One is a time lapse of a perspective drawing that I did as an example. I prefer to draw on paper, so I did a drawing on paper. You can watch this time lapse. Notice I used objects for my straight edge. I did not use a ruler, just in case some of you don't have a ruler at home. Don't rule out things like Post-its, or even your iPad keyboard makes a really nice straight edge if you're just using pencil. There's also a demo for Autodesk Sketchbook. I am not an expert in Autodesk by any means, but I did want to attempt it and kind of record some stuff to show you. So this video is a little bit longer. If you're doing it digitally, this video would be helpful for you to watch. So that's the first thing, is just to review your feedback from last week. If you haven't done your sketch for your 1-point or 2-point perspective drawing, go ahead and do that and review last week's folder, because there are some helpful videos in there for you as well, and some examples of sketches. The next thing we have in our folder is the Chunk and Chew, which is the actual building perspectives final drawing. So if you click on that, you're going to notice there's a lot of writing in here. So the first thing is to review the project criteria, and that's right here. So the drawing needs to include a building or landmark that is significant to your life or is based off of places that inspire you. So remember, your 2 options were to either draw an actual place and find a reference image on Google Maps, or just Google, or maybe take the photo yourself. The other option was to create a place that is made up, but you were inspired by a different place. So you still want to have a reference image, just like I did this donut shop here as my example. This isn't a real donut shop, but it is. I did look up a reference photo before I began to draw this, and I just typed in corner building 2-point perspective and found something to look at. Your project also needs to include 1 or 2-point linear perspective and has clear vanishing points. So I chose to do 2-point perspective, and you can see my vanishing points are here and here. Everything goes off into the distance into the 1 point or 2 points. So if you did 1-point perspective, your vanishing point's probably going to be somewhere in the middle of your paper. The other criteria is it needs to use the space of your paper and include a background and color. So notice that I did make a sky. There's not a whole lot going on in this. I did have some texture to the grass and the road and things like that, and I added detail. So it needs to be full of color. You use the space of your paper. And then the last thing for the criteria is the project can be done on paper with any drawing material in your kit. So that could be watercolor, oil pastel, it could be chalk pastel. I used colored pencils. That's also welcome. You could use markers. However, I wouldn't suggest using all marker unless you want to, but you might lose a little detail. Or you can do it on Sketchbook, Autodesk Sketchbook. If you do your project on Autodesk Sketchbook, you do need to have color in there as well. And keep in mind, when you upload a picture on Autodesk, it's really helpful to actually do a screenshot so that we can see all your layers and make sure that it's actually a drawing you created and wasn't one that was found online. So your actual chew is going to be to create your final drawing and upload it here. So you'll notice there's also a rubric. There are 4 things you're assessed on. Knowing and understanding, like, are you aware of linear perspective and is it used in your drawing? The second thing is developing skills. did you take your time practicing the technique? And then thinking creatively, were you thoughtful about your drawing? Did you include color? Did you use the space of your paper? Things like that. So you're also assessed on responding, which is going to be your next thing in this folder. So once you turn in your sketch here, you're going to go to the next thing, which is the Building Perspectives Artist Statement. There is a PDF that has some sentence starters for you or some prompts that you can respond to. However, you need 5 sentences about what you made, your drawing. And again, there's a rubric here that you can see. And there's also a video Miss Michaela made, or Miss Kendall, sorry, made explaining the project. And that is all you have for this week. Keep in mind that this is my last week. I start my maternity leave next Monday, so I will be gone after this Friday. So if you want to meet up with me before I go, make sure you contact me this week.